So it's going to be a fabulous evening. I've been watching you on Facebook, opening your kiln, 100 pots in 100 days. I can't wait. Over to you. I think we'll have...
I decided this was a mixture between the pottery throwdown and time team. And so I'm the pottery throwdown bit, the cheap and cheerful, and then you've got David doing the proper stuff at the end. So it's hopefully the two will be really useful and enjoyable to hear together. I like to think of myself as the one of the untrained hordes who don't know anything about archaeology, natural history, and didn't when I started. And so I was feeling about that I was the bridge between the two worlds. And so through me learning, maybe I would get some more people to come and see what is happening at SANHS, which is an amazing place. Did you know, this is something, did you know that the Romans came, brought the wheel with them, we didn't use it beforehand, and then when they went, they took it away again. And we didn't know I didn't know that. Something that David told me. And that is really important to what I've done, and you'll understand why when I explain to you what this whole thing is about. So I have something called post-traumatic stress disorder. And what I decided to do was to try and get better. And one of the ways I try and get better was to volunteer at SANHS to give me a little bit of routine. And whilst I was there, I was taken into the archives. Now, I've forgotten the David's name. There are lots of Davids. Who would have taken me into the library, Chris? Downstairs. David Bromwich. Okay. Everybody's called David, so I don't need to know anybody. So David Bromwich took me in there. It feels like they're buildings which are like this big, and you go into these rooms, and there are rows upon rows of, thank you, well done, Mike. Rows upon rows of, in this particular one, books. And he got his gloves on, and he opened this book, and in this book there was a little man in a little, what I think is a tricorn hat, standing outside the Castle Hotel, which is the very place I used to stand when I was about to go out and lodge it as a teenager. And I had a moment of thinking, wow, I love this place. And then I tried to find out how you get into there and how many people can go and see it. And you suddenly realise that there is this huge collection of stuff that's jointly owned and held by SWHT Heritage Trust and SANHS that felt to me that there are loads of people like me that just don't know it's there. So I carried on thinking how wonderful this place is and having all wonder moments about it, and meeting, these are the best resource for SANHS is the people, because the people know so much. And also it's the same with the SWHT Heritage Trust. Going and talking to people who know stuff is just amazing. And so I went in and I decided that one thing I was going to do, which would help me, because I couldn't cope with anything other than very, very structured stuff, was to go and be part of the website building working group, because I felt that would be a way of getting the community to understand what was going on in SANHS, because they'd be able to see, they'd be able to search it out first. So when they go to somebody like Amal, who is the most wonderful person to go and talk to, they can go, instead of like me, who went and said, can I think in pottery, not knowing that we've got one of the biggest collections in the country. In fact, I think it's second to the V&A. Am I right in that? We've got a huge number, haven't we? And it's all connected to Somerset. So you go into the SWHT Heritage Trust and say, can I see some pots, please, Amal? And she's sitting there going, okay, I've got that many to look at. What? Fiona. And I'm like, I don't know. So I thought that the website would enable people, because it's got this search facility, to be able to search through stuff and find out what was going on there. And we're all sitting around talking about the website and deciding how it's going to go, and we realise that we've got lots of volunteers who will do lots of things linked to their subject areas, but the one thing that we really needed to get the website up and running was somebody to manage the kind of editing of it, and that was going to cost money. And so the whole point of my project was to get that money so that we could get somebody to build this. And I thought, I've got a bright idea. I'm going to do a challenge which will get sponsorship, and it will help me with my noggin and help SANHS at the same time. And I'm going to do this challenge. I'll do 100 pots in 100 days. That'll be easy. about a day. It's not going to take very long. And then I'll blog about it. That'll be fine. So, and I started, and of course, finding out that, in fact, with the lovely history of ceramics and talking to Amal and talking to David, I found out that actually we didn't start throwing until the Romans came. So I did a load of research about pottery, which was absolutely no use at all, because it's all about hand building. So we started off hand building bowls with lovely round bottoms, and then we went on, a group of people came in and we changed to kind of a more farming life, and so we got tables, and so we had flat bottomed bowls. Then we had a bit of decoration, probably about the same time, possibly a bit before. That was new people coming in, gave us a bit of decoration. Then the Romans came in, bought the wheel, went off, took the wheel away again, and then later on they brought a new lot of people came into the country and brought colour. And it was that idea that actually what I needed to be doing was thinking, you're not really starting your research and looking at stuff until post-Roman, because that's when your throwing started. So I'd chosen to do throwing, and there was an issue. The second thing about learning to throw, which is also a problem, is you can't use anything from a collection of ceramics to influence your work until you can actually throw. I haven't thrown a single pot in my life before. This is my very first pot ever. My father, who's sitting over here, is a master potter. He's brilliant. He will be really embarrassed at me saying this. I don't care. And that's some of his stuff over there. So you've got a juxtaposition of my stuff with my father's stuff. And so it took me till about day 56 to get to a point when I'm throwing that I can start off a pot and actually think I might get an idea of what I'm creating at the end. Everything else was this wonderful, exciting adventure every time I got onto the wheel. So, so that's David with me outside the Castle Museum whilst I'm doing a little bit of research. Sorry, I'm absolutely rubbish at keeping... That's some of my sculpture. Yeah, and that's the start. So I started off learning to throw by doing cylinders. I would swear that I've got lots of lovely people here who may not find it appropriate. Cylinders. And more cylinders. And he said, the one thing you've got to do is get good at cylinders. If you can get good, how many potters here? Yeah. If you get good at cylinders, once you can do cylinders, anything else can come from it. So I spent weeks doing cylinders and then chopping. So you see, I've done 177 pots. I've got 100 here. How many more cylinders I created for this that you have no idea, and cutting them in half and making sure that they're even all the way through. So that was my first part of my journey. Yeah, let's have it. Oh, I've now got to throw a pot, so I'm going to talk to you. This is the pottery throwdown bit. And so this is what I learned. First of all, one of the things I learned about potting is, and this is on YouTube, you've got to make love to the wheel. This is what they said. And so you pull yourself really, really close in, like that. So you shove yourself right up to the front. And the other thing they say when throwing is try and do as much of the work beforehand. So this is me all doing what I've learned. So you make it into a nice circle. So don't try and make it into a circle when it's on the wheel, into a nice ball. Do it beforehand, and then you've got half the job done, which seems sensible. I didn't learn that until about day 92. So make it into a nice ball, shove it into the centre. I'm very nervous. It's probably all going to go incredibly wrong. Right. And then you try and keep yourself sturdy by putting your hands either side of the wheel like this, and then centering it by putting your hands either side. And what I was finding was to try and get the place centered, I'd lean over and I'd do that, and then I'd come up and I'd be covered because I'm boobalicious. So the other thing is not to use too much water. I started off using loads of water. Oh, and in actual fact, it's got a couple of things here which are really important. in charge. So, now, the other thing I learnt is that every wheel that you use is different. Every type of clay is different. So as you learn to throw, as I did at the end with toasted stoneware, swapping to something like a white stoneware means that the way that you throw is completely different. So, and I didn't know that before. I didn't realise that clays were so kind of individual in the way that you use them. So you have to go quite... And what you do, it's a bit like being a primary school teacher, is you tell the clay what to do. You don't let it tell you what to do. When I first started, and anybody who's seen my father's pots will know that he does this, and it's a kind of self-torture. I think, like, some people wear shirts which are really spiky on the inside for religious reasons. My father uses clay with something called a high grog content to throw. He gave me a clay with grog in it, which is fired clay inside a clay body. My hands.
Where's that coming from? Where's that coming from?
So I was wearing, and so I had to wear cut off socks on my arms to try and. Right, so that's it. You can feel when it's centred, and I haven't got it yet. I'm going to do a ghost moment now. I'm going to pull it up. Unfortunately, mine's not very well endowed. You can't see it. Sorry. Inappropriate. And then you push it back down again. Yeah, hopefully that's a bit better. Now, what I'd normally do if it wasn't working is I'd say, Dad, can you come and give us a hand? You're in your best gear. I love it. Right. Then you put your foot. I'm shaking so much because I'm so nervous that
pretend we're not here.
I'm going to. Yeah. Who are you? So you put your thumbs in the middle. I'm going to make a very simple cylinder because that's all I'm capable of. And then you do something called knuckling up. Because this is a new wheel, I've been practicing for the last 3 days on it, and it was given to me by Kat, who's sitting in the audience, who is an amazing jeweller, and there are at least 2 people here who are wearing her jewellery. One of them is me, and she does this amazing work where you can cast with cuttlefish. So if anybody wants to do that, I've put some leaflets out of her stuff. And this is a big thank you to her as well for giving me this wheel, which I really appreciate. And then you can pull it in. Pull it up. Pull it in. Pull it up. That is it, otherwise you're going to be here all night. Okay, where are we with the... No, I've got my body. So, I love this picture. This is a photo of my wheel next to my father's wheel. Look at the sizes of it. Bless him. But there are several story arcs to my journey. One of them is my mental health, because anybody who's had mental health issues knows that it's a real to try and get over. But the second is it's about learning about history and discovering SANHS and understanding about South West Heritage Trust and their relationship, and thinking that this should be shared with absolutely everybody and everybody should know about it. And another one is my journey with my father, because everything I'm doing learning from him, so it's like that handing on of a legacy to somebody, and I think that's kind of a history kind of trail in its own right. So Dad would talk to me about what I should be doing, and one of the things that he said, you could improve yourself. So once I had finally persuaded him to let go of cylinders, I went on to think, these different shapes. Sometimes I did pot slightly under the influence of alcohol. Don't do it. It is there. It may well be one of the 4. Go on, what's next? And I became a master of drunken exploits making pots and then rescuing them and making them slightly interesting. And I went to the Somerset Rural Life Museum and saw the Donyak pottery and the Eltonware over there, and that was one of them. And I thought, I'm an artist.
A certain type of artist.
Go on, what's the next one? Yes, I did it again. So yes, interesting pots. Also, I did a lot. Now, in the Roman pottery, is it just Roman or is it earlier than Roman where they did the S-shaped profile? Earlier. So, earlier they did the S-shaped profile with pots, and that was, go back one, I did a lot of S-shaped profile pots. Unfortunately, I tried to get the lip at the top. They flopped down because I wanted, you always push yourself, don't you? And I wanted to get this really flat top, and then they go, because I don't do it. And so I've got a lot of what I call sea urchin pots. Of course, I did completely on purpose, but was my rescuing interesting things. Another shape that I liked and did quite a lot of was this Diablo shape. I started off making them because Dad was asking me to do colouring in. Yeah, colouring in. And to make the little vases. And so before I got colouring in and doing little vases, I kept making Diablos. Then later on, I thought, people said, oh, I love your Diablo shape. I'll make another one of those. Could I make them? No. So that was day 63. I managed to make a Diablo. That one is Amalis. That's Roman, isn't it? Yeah. And one of the things I got to try and do there was having a flat shape, and so I was using a kidney to do that very flat shape going up, and I can do that now. And so that's why I put that on there. And these are some of the want pots, just to say this is how I used it. So I didn't use the stuff in the collection and copy it exactly, because I couldn't. But what I did do was use the shape or the decoration that I'd seen somewhere else. So everything that Amal and David took me through helped me. That's an S-shaped profile pot, Next one, because I'll just zip through those. Oh, that's where I got the lip, and I managed to get it to stay up. Go on. Day 59. What's next? And that was one of the first pots I made, which was really thin all the way through, because a bit like me, a lot of my pots had a large bottom. And that was one of the first ones that I made, which actually felt as though it was done by somebody who was vaguely able to pot in some way. Go on, next one. Bowls. And now, David will remember this. I said to him, I've been making pudding pan bowls. And I thought they were bowls that we used for pudding. And David said, Fiona, it's a place, my love. It's where they were found. And I went, oh, okay. And so I spent ages trying to get this profile of this pot, thinking, yeah. So, and then I got, so this is the start of me using larger amounts of clay. So I started off using very small. Dad wouldn't let me go above £1.50, wasn't it, or £1 to start with? £1 to start. And then that's me starting to use £4. But I'd used £4 of clay And half of it, it's still probably only £2. You know, people, the thing that is amazing about
Where's the
people
other
out there-
£2?
Yeah.
On your elephant.
Exactly. Or that has come away. Yeah. So if you see proper potters like my father potting, they have kind of £2 of clay, and they make a pot the same size that I'm making out of £4 of clay. And it's not just that they're thick; it's just that I lose it. If you look in the so cups. So this is one of the cups from the SANHS collection. We haven't brought that today, have we? So this is one of the cups from the SANHS collection, and I was trying to make cups which looked a bit like that, getting that kind of indent on the side. It was really hard. I didn't quite manage it, but I was getting there, and so future. And Dad taught me how to do handles, and I didn't know that there is a Somerset handle, isn't there, David? The way that they pull them, and so Dad uses that technique of doing a Somerset handle, and I had got to the point where I was trying to make this particular shape of a cup that I actually decided to extrude some. I extruded them and stuck them on, but I did do 1 or 2 of the Somerset handles, but I need to get better at that. And I've got some nice jugs. I did put on one of my blogs that I had a nice pair of jugs, which I found. No, I'm just now thinking about the number of times I'm mentioning boobs, and perhaps you're going to think there's a thing. Now, there's a nice story about these jugs, which David told me, and the ones with the tops off. Are you going to say that one later? Say that story later? Do I need to shut up now? Can I tell it? Okay, so David was saying that what they used to do is put the jugs down the well, and then as they pull them up, the handles and the tops would come off because they'd hit against the side. And so loads of the pots that they were at the bottom of the well, jugs were at the bottom of the well, and the reason why they were there was because of this. And that was the other thing about history, talking to Amal and David, that I found fascinating, is that you can only date a pot from the things that are around it, that it's very hard to date it from the pot itself. So you know the date that it was broken or it was left somewhere, because a lot of the information that we find out about anything historical is from the context that it's found in. And I didn't know that. And the other thing that has been said a lot is ceramics are the one thing that we can find out about our history from that lasts forever, because the way that we deal with it changes it to stone. And so it is an amazing material to work with. Yeah, that one I took from a Roman type jug, so I put that one in. And then I made a plate, and this is the idea that I used the shapes from some pots, but then used ideas about decoration from others. But that was the first plate. Bottles, made lots of, that was my first bottle, so I got colouring in, so that was day 32. And yeah, and Dad does these amazingly little pots, and so I was trying to copy him, so I did a bit of copying my dad at the same time, and that's burnished. And then I tried to get a difference in height. I only ever got up to 21 centimetres. You have to understand how big 21 centimetres is, because you can see the tallest pot, which is I won't say what category is it, which is this one. That's my tallest pot. And then anyway, go on. Oh, no, and then I'm trying to make really long necks as well. So this is some Elsonware, am I right? Elsonware, and so I was trying to get the really long necks like in Elsonware, and that's a bottle. Decoration. So my father does a lot of burnishing, and when David and I went around the museum, we was black burnishware. There was some black burnishware there, and I really loved it because you can see the pattern on the outside of the pot where they've burnished and then sgraffitoed, or burnished and not burnished in patterns on the side, and I tried to reflect that in some of my earlier pots, because the first thing I could do was decorate. It wasn't that I was able to throw. So that was two little burnish pots that I've got, which are there. And then next is That's the black burnish ware, and you can't see it, but this one has got, it's burnished with elements cut out or carved out of it. Next one. That one is a different style. That was using a ceramic pencil. That was nothing to do with anything I saw. I just thought I'd add it in to show you that I've been doing other stuff as well, as you do. That one is slip and then carved out of it, so that's graffiti.
Can't see. Thank you.
But you're looking at my profile.
That was my point, really.
And so, one of the loves that David gave me was a love of slip, and I'm sure he's going to be talking to you about that later, so I won't go into that too much, but just to say this is some of the stuff that I did learning how to use slip. So from my huge amounts of detritus that I created when I was throwing the wheel, I was able to collect a lot of wet clay, and from that I made some slip. So that's the stuff in the jars. And then go on to the next one, and then I put either an iron oxide with some stains in it, and Dad taught me how to make the slips and the stains work within the within the wet clay, the slip, and then next one. And this is some of the stuff that I was able to do afterwards, and this is from some of the collections. So that pot is one of the pots over at the Somerset Rural Life Museum. Is it still there, Amal? No. So you can't see it? No. But now you know it's there, you can all go and ask Amal to get it out. Sorry, Amal. No. Yeah, so this is my go at doing slip decoration, and that's one of the pots that we've got in our collection. Yeah, and some more. That one is yellow. There. Came out of the kiln today. Orange. Little bit of magic. Didn't know that was going to happen. So this one is that one. And I'd done that because the stuff that David had shown me had been yellow with red, and I thought I'd keep that, and it would be really clever of me to show you slip work that looked like that. But no. And he said, and that's going to change too. Earlier he said, and that's going to change too, Karen, it's just going to be brown later. But what they used to do, and this is something that David and I have been talking about, is they would be, so the Donyat potteries had specific clay that they used, and they could find a white clay and a clay which had iron oxide in it, so it would go brown, and then they put a lead glaze over the top which has a kind of yellowy tinge to it, doesn't it? And so that's how they got the yellow. It wasn't because they had stained slip. I was cheating, and it failed dramatically. That's one of my favourites, and I'm very proud of that one, so I put that in. Sorry. Yeah. So those are my goes out with stains. And that was one of the pots again at the Somerset Rural Life Museum, which has got slip coloured glazes on it, which I really liked. And it's just, where you think you might go in the future with it. At the moment I'm dribbling and scraping pottery slip. And then, and I made some odd stuff. Don't ask me why. It was, I made a pot which my mother said looked like a potty. And again, I won't tell you what Kat said it looked like, but anybody with any imagination. So that's and things did go very wrong. Yes, I did, as you will see by the pictures. They said to me, in your blogs, put your broken stuff, your fails, and also pictures of your dog. So what next for me? Sculpture. So I do sculpture. That's what I do. And I have found that having done this piece of work, I am starting to create again. And I hadn't created for several years when I was ill. And it's just been, so thank you, SANHS. Where's Chris? Thank you, because it has mended me. And I went to that was a dragon I did the day after. I was so relieved not to be sodding crowing. So I started to make this dragon. And the other thing that's been amazing has been my journey with Dad, who's just an amazing man, an amazing potter. And I've got something to share with you today, which is a song, which has been written by Ben and Alfie for my dad's 80th birthday, because he was 80 this year. I will cry when I hear this, but it will give you an idea of the connection between history, archaeology, and what we as a family think is such a great gift that my father and Ben's grandfather has given us. about Ben and Alfie, I have put some little slips because they are professional musicians and they're going to go and do a tour of the Southwest, hopefully with Broadclaws, and if not, I'm going to try and get them to come back here and play anyway, which I think, because I'm really biased and I don't give them monkeys, but I think they're brilliant, and so I've got them there. Over there too, but I've also got Joss is a potter, I've got a card of hers over there, I've got Chris here who's an artist, I've got leaflets of hers, so take a look. We've got such a wealth of stuff here. Let's have a break, let's drink some drink, and then we'll come back and have a listen to David. Thank you so much for coming on, amazing.